Here, this kind of approach won't get you anywhere. The moment you show anger or push hard, people quietly shut down. Ready for this? My Portuguese teacher once told me to never use você to address a person. If you're thinking about moving to Portugal, you've probably asked yourself, what if I move there and the life there isn't what I've imagined? The truth is, many Americans struggle when they first come to Portugal. Now, imagine this. You move here, settle in smoothly, no stress, no confusion, no hiccups, without having to change who you are. You just fit. So why doesn't it usually go this way? It's simple. Most Americans who move here know very little about Portuguese culture. Some have never even visited before. By the end of this video, you'll have a good idea of what to expect. And I'll be honest, I wasn't ready for most of it. But over time, I realized something. Every single surprise, every awkward moment, it's actually a key to understanding how Portugal really works. And once you start seeing it this way, the whole experience changes. So let's break it down. Life in Portugal is nothing like in the US. From the first things that hit you when you arrive to everyday nuances, even the way people work and do business. Portugal isn't what you think. Last month, my mother came to visit us from Virginia, and you know what's the first thing that she pointed out? Not the food, not the language. It was the public restrooms at the beach. So she walks in, comes back out, eyes wide open, and she says, "They're spotless. There's even toilet paper in every stall. The showers are clean and not even sand on the floor." Now, I lived in the US and I've been to the public bathrooms at the beach. And let's just say they don't stay clean. And that, right there, is where I want to start. Because first of all, in Portugal, they really do take cleaning and maintaining public spaces seriously. And second, this example is symbolic of something deeper about the culture. Respect for shared places, for community, and for each other. So in this video, I'm breaking down 20 culture shocks you'll definitely want to know before making the move. This is your Portugal versus USA culture shock guide, and it's not your typical top 10 video. I packed this one with real examples, so you can actually get a feel for what life here feels like. Sure, I'll touch on a few common differences for context, but my focus is on the real human specifics many people overlook. The ones that drastically change how you live and how you feel once you move here. So what my mother noticed brings me to my first point here. In Portugal, public spaces feel personal. People pick up after themselves, not because there is a fine, but because there is a sense of community. The beach, the plaza, the street outside a cafe, they're not only the public property, but you can sense the feeling of shared responsibility. Back in the States, we have that idea that if it's public, it's someone else's job. Here, it's everyone's job. That's not just about cleanliness. It's a general feeling of mutual respect. It's quite pleasant, I must say, when you want to take a shower at a public beach and step into a spotless cabin. It's also really nice to use a public bathroom in a local park, let's say, and to find it sparkling clean, stocked with toilet paper, and see a lady who is there all day to maintain it constantly. It's a level of comfort my mother wishes she'd have in the US. Next on my list is something I didn't know that could feel this good, and that is the peace of mind and freedom you get from not being bombarded by marketing calls. In the US, it's never ending. My mother stopped picking up the phone years ago if she sees a number that's unfamiliar. That's bad, not just because she's missed important calls, like from her doctor, but because there's just no escape. You can block, you can sign up for do not call list. Here in Portugal, you might get a robocall once in a blue moon, but it's nothing like the absolute madness back in the US. And I really do think this ties back to the culture. Here in Portugal, it's about respect and privacy. People actually leave you alone. Now, this next one is something people don't often think about. I've heard from some folks moving here that Portuguese can seem a bit too curious about your life, nosy, to put it bluntly. And yes, there is a bit of that, but hear me out. One time, when we just arrived, I was at the beach with my daughter and her friend. It was kind of off-season, the water was chilly, but the kids were used to it, so they were loving it. Two older ladies walked by, stopped, and came right up to me and told me, "It's too cold for children to be in the water." At first, I was honestly a bit stunned. My first reaction was to laugh. I was like, really? Wow, people aren't afraid to speak up if something catches their eye. But when I told them that the kids were used to the cold water, the conversation shifted. It turned into a warm, friendly chat. I could tell they didn't come over to criticize me. They came out of genuine care. That moment kind of sums it up.
I've had many little interactions like this here.
And over time, you realize that people truly care. Next one on my list, and this is a big one. If things aren't going your way in Portugal, chances are the way you'd normally handle it in the US just won't work here. Let's say you're buying a property. The process is dragging, communication is spotty, and things aren't moving as smoothly as you'd hope. Totally normal situation, right? It can happen anywhere. Or maybe it's something smaller, like a bad service at a restaurant, or something bigger, like an important business disagreement. Now, in the States, what do? We speak up, right? We complain, we escalate, or at the very least make it clear that we're not happy. Here, this kind of approach won't get you anywhere. The moment you show anger or push hard, people quietly shut down. They won't fight back, but they also will not help you faster. The key here is calm persistence. Don't upset people. Keep the communication open, use reason and common sense, and work your way through it with patience. And if you really need to make it official, you can use Livro de Reclamações, which is a complaint book in Portuguese. That thing is taken very seriously here, and it will get results. And by the way, a quick side note. If you're thinking about moving to Portugal and not sure if you should hire a relocation specialist and how to go about the visa process, we did everything ourselves. And most of the work related to that will be just gathering the documents. You don't need an agent for that. You just need a clear, up-to-date information all in one place. So I put together my D7 visa guide. It's the exact list that I use to get approved, updated with all the latest requirements so you can just get it done. And if you want the full roadmap, I also created Moving to Portugal Handbook. It covers everything: visa and residency info, housing, healthcare, finances, plus every bit of paperwork you'll need once you land. 14 chapters, 37 pages, all straight to the point. There's even a chapter on how to handle the emotional side of moving abroad, because that's the real thing people underestimate. It's basically the guide I wish we had when we made the move. It saves you time, money, and tons of frustration, all built from real-life experience instead of internet searches. You'll find both links down in the description. Check them out. It can be that immediate solution that you're looking for. Alright, let's get back to the culture side of things, because this next one really says a lot about how people do things here. This brings me to my next point. Business culture here really puts relationships first. Things move slower, more deliberately. You'll notice long conversations before contracts, you'll notice flexible deadlines, and a lot of importance placed on trust before any deal happens. For someone coming from the US, this can feel slow and frustrating at times, because we're used to getting things done fast. But here it's about people, not transactions. Once you see that, you realize it's actually a very respectful and collaborative way of doing things. And since we're on the topic of communication, let me mention something interesting about the Portuguese language. It actually uses formal and informal ways to address people. Tu and você. You use tu with people you're familiar with, family, friends, or people you already know well, and você when speaking in a more formal or respectful way.
However, a small but very important twist to this one. Ready for this? My Portuguese teacher once told me to never use você to address a person. This has to do with some history behind using this word in Portugal and may refer to lower social status. So avoiding using the word você altogether may be a good idea. So what to do instead? You can do a few different things. One of them is that you can drop the word você altogether. So for example, instead of você fala inglês, you can simply say fala inglês. Another way to address a person is as a third person, which is the strangest thing in the world when you're talking to someone, but it's used quite commonly. And then there's a third way of doing it, still addressing the person you're talking to as a third person, but by using o senhor or a senhora. Trust me, it's very common, although it does take some time to get used to.
It might seem like a small detail, but understanding this helps you avoid awkward moments and make social interaction flow much more naturally. Another thing that I enjoy in Portugal is how polite people are on the phone. No matter who you are or where you're from, you are treated with patience and kindness. I can't quite say the same about the US. After living there for 25 years, I can say that I've had a few moments where my accent didn't exactly help, but here it's different. It's actually a pleasure to get things done over the phone. Of course, connecting with people in person here is even better, which brings me to my next point. Never rely on emails in Portugal. That focus on people that I mentioned earlier shows up in how they communicate. Don't expect to get much done over the email. If you want quick results, pick up the phone, or better yet, show up in person. Conversations here tend to flow more indirectly, polite, subtle, and always respectful. I don't see it as avoidance. It's more like a diplomacy. People care about harmony just as much as about getting things done. And I gotta say, it's quite refreshing. Now let's move to the next one, and I've got an interesting story for you. Earlier this year, the Leclerc, it's a huge French supermarket in the city where we live called Caldas da Rainha. They finished installing solar panels all across the roofs of their parking lot. Then came that big blackout in April of this year. Power went out for about 5 hours across the whole Iberian Peninsula. And guess what? Leclerc stayed open the whole time, thanks to those solar panels they just installed. Their lights stayed on, the gas station kept working, the only one in town. They were literally the only place with electricity. But what really blew me away was the people. There was no panic, no rush to stock on water or toilet paper. Everyone stayed calm. Families shopping, cashiers smiling, people helping each other. And that's when it hit me. This is Portugal. Balanced, patient, and steady. Staying calm even when everything else goes dark. Portuguese culture is really about kindness. I think this is the kind of energy the whole world could use. Now let's talk about personal space. In the US, we are comfortable with distance. A handshake may be a wave. In Portugal, personal space shrinks the second you meet someone. So get ready for cheek kisses, right side first, hugs, handshakes that linger, and my favorite, a warm bon dia from total strangers. I just love it. Personal space in general is smaller here, so don't be surprised if you brush shoulders with people walking down the street, in shops, or pretty much anywhere in public. Next on my list is how people here in Portugal treat their stuff. In the US, when something breaks, we usually replace it. Here in Portugal, people repair. You'll see people fixing what broke and finding ways to make something last a little longer. Sure, part of it comes from necessity, but it's also about values. It's the opposite of the wasteful culture we got so used to when lived in the US. Here, things are meant to be cared for, not to be tossed away. And it's not only about saving money. It's as much about slowing down and appreciating what you already have. The same idea shows up in how people treat their time here. In Portugal, time isn't something to chase. Instead, it flows with your life. I'm sure you've heard already that in Portugal, time is flexible, not fixed. For example, if your electrician says 9 a.m., expect 10. If lunch meeting runs long, nobody rushes you. Time kind of bends here, like it's meant to serve life, not to rule it. It takes a while to get used to, but once you stop fighting the clock, you start feeling lighter. And the same calm approach carries into how people behave. Loud behavior feels out of place here in Portugal. Modesty and calm are admired. Even goodbyes here are different. They're never rushed. There's always a moment to talk a bit more, to mean it. It's unhurried, warm, and calm. Speaking of which, let's touch on greetings real quick. They are pretty specific depending on the time of the day.
But interestingly, you can't just say olá or hi in Portuguese. Every greeting really should include the time of day.
So up until midday, you use bom dia.
So if you start with olá, it becomes olá, bom dia.
You say boa tarde from midday until sunset.
Olá, boa tarde.
And then boa noite only goes after sunset. Getting this right shows respect and that you understand the local customs. Trust me, this one is one of the fastest ways to blend in and to show that you've adapted. Another thing you need to know about Portugal is that every town has annual festivals celebrating saints, music, and food. It's a great community experience that lasts for days. And these events aren't just for holidays, they are the center of Portuguese social life. Something else you'll notice right away living in Portugal and really across many other European countries is how meals turn into together time. It's way more than just grabbing a bite here. A lunch or dinner can go for hours, packed with good stories and real sense of connection.
Here's another one for you. I'm serious, you'll feel like a caveman trying to cut chicken with a fork here. Portuguese people use their knives, always. It's all part of that same love for food, slow, intentional, and done right. Coffee in Portugal isn't just coffee, it's a ritual. There is no takeaway culture here. People sit, enjoy their bica, and actually have a conversation. There are so many ways to order coffee here, it deserves its own video. But what I love about it is that nobody's in a rush. Coffee is time for slowing down. Portuguese culture really values politeness, so when you need to decline something, a simple no may come across as a bit rude or even aggressive. Instead, you can say something like "Estou bem, obrigada," which translates to "I'm fine, thank you." And hey, Portuguese will kindly hold the door for you, just like in the US. There you go, there's even something in common between the two cultures.
There are so many more things that you will hear about Portuguese culture that I haven't touched on, and some are a lot more fundamental, like how much value is placed on family here. My video would be endless if I'd go into details on that, but you get the idea. In Portugal, time stretches, relationships get closer, and life stops feeling like a race and becomes something you enjoy. If you think that the culture shock is the hardest part, that's really just a start. Want to know how life in Portugal really changes for you after 5 years? Watch my next video. Moving to Portugal from the USA 5 years in. For the raw truth and a few wild surprises. I'll drop the link here once it goes live.